So thank you for sharing your time. Could you please introduce yourself and your background?
Yes, I'm Allan P, and although I'm in evaluation, I'm actually a mechanical engineer, and I've been doing evaluation for about 25 years.
Thank you. So could you please summarize your session and your key points of your part?
Well, my part in the session is to talk about the general overview of the model, the high impact evaluation model, and I suppose the key aspect of our approach to evaluation is to take evaluation from backward looking, after the fact kind of model. Usually a current evaluation, you're looking at what happened. What was it successful? Did it impact job performance? Did it get a positive return on investment? Which is fine, that makes sense. But we have taken evaluation to another level where we're looking at not just what happened afterwards, but how do we make things better? It's not good enough to know if you can anticipate that you're going to be a failure or you're going to be successful. If you know you're going to fail, if you know the program's not going to be a success, then what can we do to make sure that it is a success? And at the end of the day, if it's failed, what can we do to make it better? So that's where we come in. And why are we doing that? Because we were lucky enough to be awarded a very long-term contract to evaluate the return on investment of programs. That means to say, is the program making more money than it cost to develop in the first place? And we did this with a lot of large companies, Boeing, Logitech, and very large Canadian companies. DuPont was involved. And the whole idea was the federal government was wanting to demonstrate that investing in training does improve bottom line results and the economy. What we discovered, so the idea was a no-brainer, training would help. So we recruited 24 companies for this. And the goal would be to show that training is successful, it drives return on investment and improves the economy. Now, that's what it should have done. And that was the government was funding this in order to raise the level of the economy. What they discovered and this was a 5-year study with 24 companies, really rigorous return on investment. Some of the studies would take at least 6-8 months, others 2 years. But what we discovered at the end of the 24 companies we evaluated, we researched, we discovered at the end only half of them got a positive return on investment, which is a big shock. And that means you think about your own training. Are you going to be getting a positive return on investment, or are you going to be wasting your money? And no company wants to do that. Two things. First of all, you're wasting that money. Secondly, you're not getting the benefit in terms of improved sales or reduced costs that you should be getting. So that set us about, because we had done this in a very systematic way, we were able to come up, reverse engineer the failures and reverse engineer the successes and come up with a model that could help all companies using this evaluation model, which we call high impact evaluation. Instead of the traditional evaluation, which is, I said, backward looking, what happened, it's all too late to do anything about it. Our model is predictive and proactive, which means that we can look at what's happening, design a system for what's happening, very simple to use tools, what's happening, and discover if there is risk of failure. And it's basically an early warning radar. If there's problems, red flags go up. What is the problem? We drill down, diagnose the problems, and make them turn them around to make them successful.
Thank you so much. You just mentioned that the high impact model is very adopted so many companies. Mm-hmm. Could you please give some ideas for who doesn't really know about high impact model to implement, how to implement this idea into their corporate learning?
Yeah, well, it's actually quite simple, but it takes a little learning. I think we do workshops, 2-3 day workshops to teach people. It takes that, but we have the whole system laid out. And in the end of the day, it's very logical. So people They take the course. It's easy to adapt. It's not a difficult, complex. You don't have to be a genius. But the main thing about this model is it speaks to the business. So a training department runs this model. It communicates well with senior management. And that's what makes it so successful. It triggers the conversation, which is so important. It triggers a conversation between the learning department, the learning designers, and the business.
Thank you so much. Could you please, in the end, give some message to the audience who struggle with evaluating the programs or who's in charge of the HR training?
Yeah, well, the thing we see is that the two types of evaluation you basically see out there are the Kirkpatrick's model and the Phillips model. The Phillips model is a great model for doing return on investment, that is to say, but it's very time consuming and resource consuming and skills consuming. You need to have a lot of information. On the other hand, the Kirkpatrick model gives you less information. The smile sheets and so forth don't communicate very well to senior management. So you need to find a form, and I would say the Phillips is the best, but it's complicated. That would be the best model to use. In other words, if you're just wanting to speak to management, senior management, what we try to do is we try to give folks a tool that speaks to senior management, but gives them, it's kind of like a red flag situation. If you've got problems in your training, to find it early on, saves spending the money and coming up with a program that really isn't, in the end, going to do any good.